lot of people have sent me this video. This is New Orleans football's interview with Drew Brees. Now, it's on the Saints offensive coordinator search. So those questions, obviously, now that Clint Kubiak is apparently the offensive coordinator, we'll kind of breeze through those questions. But I do want to hear some other stuff. I know they ask some other interesting questions to Drew. Drew is doing a media tour to promote his Slider restaurant. A Slider is a miniature burger. So if you are in the Target parking lot in Metairie and you want a small burger, go to Smalls. Check it out.
So what did you think of the Saints this year? I know you got a few times.
I don't know if y'all gonna hear the questions. You know how these people, the reporter microphones are 40 feet away for no reason. Question is, what did you think about the Saints? What did you think about the Saints this season? Side note, Drew's in a nightmare scenario here with the hair. Anytime you have the front swoop strands and it's a windy day outside, you're one bad breeze away. No pun intended. God, I'm on a different level. You're always one bad breeze away from the hair just being straight down your forehead or curved the wrong way. It's a nightmare. So being outside, you're constantly doing running your hands through your hair, trying to make sure things are straight. And you do that too much, your hair looks ridiculous. So they didn't do Drew any favors with the spot for this. If I'm him, I would have worn a hat. It's just the easiest way to do it.
Yeah. I think we finished the season well. Unfortunately, we were just in a situation where probably some of the games that we let go early on in the year, unfortunately, came back to bite us.
Yeah, like Minnesota, like Atlanta, like Green Bay, like all those games, even at the end, the Rams, embarrassed us in front of our friends and families on Thursday Night Football. Hot take, my opinion. I don't think Drew watches very much of the Saints or very much really of the NFL. It's interesting. That's something that a lot of fans are surprised by how little athletes watch their sport. A lot of athletes don't watch it. They're not casual watchers. They play it. They've always played it. They probably want to break from it. I think Alvin Kamara's been on record saying he watches more NASCAR than NFL, which is pretty wild. I know I've heard basketball players say that they don't watch the NBA. Maybe it's Kawhi Leonard, but someone recently just said that they don't watch the NBA. They don't know what's going on outside of their team. I say that because Brees, a lot of his answers are the only way you could provide those answers if you just don't watch the team. I've heard him say things, everything from the offensive line is good to, the offense was good or whatever. He just, I don't know if he's so PC with his answers that it just comes off that way, but to me, it seems like Drew doesn't watch very much of the games.
Would have had an opportunity to win the division and go to the playoffs. With a win over Green Bay early on, which I think we all recognize as a game that got away from us, and there was probably a few others. So I think overall, I think the team would probably strive for some more consistency. It was up and down. When we were good, I felt like we were really good. We just had a couple of those games that got away from us that it very easily could have been a 10-plus win season.
That part's true.
Unfortunately, it wasn't.
Now, Drew knows. He must watch the channel. He must know I had the over 9.5 regular season win bet. Brutal, yes. Even as bad as we were at times, we still should have been like an 11-win team, which was the whole point of the bet, was that with our schedule, there's no way we couldn't win 10 games. Wouldn't you know it? We won less than 10 games.
And we missed the playoffs, but I still think we're poised and in a position to continue to be at the top of this division and be playoff contenders every year. I think we have a quarterback who's very talented. And I think we've got skill position guys who can get the job done. I think defensively, we're still a top. Those
are like my favorite answers. Like, we got skill position guys that can get the job done. What does that even mean? What does get the job done even mean? He might as well be like, we got a quarterback who can throw it. We got receivers who can catch it. We got running backs who can run it. We got defensive tackles who can tackle. We got, kickers who can kick. We're ready to rock and roll.
Top 10 defense. And have great leadership there. So just kind of fill some of the voids, build depth, and keep making a run at it.
Do you feel like it was a missed opportunity, Drew?
Well, this guy sounded like the audio sounded like he was in the middle of being like flushed down a drain when he asked the question. I think he asked, do you feel like it was a missed opportunity? Yes. Anytime you win less games than you're expected to win, anytime you don't take advantage of a weak division, yes, it's absolutely yes.
Well, I mean, anytime you don't make the playoffs, you know, you look back at the missed opportunities from the season.
No doubt. Where can I get one of those shirts?
I know there were some games that we all would look at, the team would look at and say, you know, if we could just win that one.
Drew, send me a shirt. I'll wear it.
I mean, look,
I promise.
the Green Bay game sticks out early on, right? We're up 17-0, and obviously that was a team in the NFC who ended up taking a playoff spot from us, right? But we win that game. All of a sudden, we're the division winner. We're hosting a home playoff game. I think we beat the Eagles, and then, you know, we would have gone and played at Detroit, I guess. But that's the way it goes.
Drew, I know you think the world of Pete Carmichael, but we've watched this offense even over the last 2-3 years.
Ooh, he's doing what I said. You see that? What I tell you, guys, I'm telling you right now. People think like I'm just a wonder kid genius when it comes to the NFL, and I see everything clear. First thing Drew does, first chance he gets, swoops the hair. I'm telling you, the wind outside with his hair, you can't have wind with that kind of hair. You can't have the blow. You can't have that. You can't pause. You can't have that swoop across your forehead, because then you look ridiculous. It's just when you have hair and you tell your barber, you say, hey, you know, leave a little bit of length on top. You want the length to be to the side. You don't want the length to be straight down, looking like you're the lead singer of Simple Plan. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want that. So Drew, he's conscious now. He's locked in. He's conscious, and once you're conscious of it, conscience and conscious, way too close together. Once you're conscious of it, you can't quit. So now Drew's going to do this the entire video. Mike Triple's asking the question. He's leading into the question with, I know you like Pete Carmichael. I know you respect him, blah, 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 blah. I don't care. And I guess he's going to ask about what he thought about Pete Carmichael's performance.
Why do you think the offense couldn't really find its way consistently?
All right, so the question was, why do you think the offense couldn't find much consistency? Now, here's Drew going back into his PC Rolodex of PC. This face, I mean, this is the face. Just slobbered all over myself there. This is the face right here of someone saying, how can I answer this question without upsetting Pete? How can I possibly? Here's a little tip. Anytime you're in the public light like this and you're trying to come up with the most PC possible answer, don't make this face, because this tells people exactly what you're doing. Don't do this.
I mean, look, there's a lot of factors that go into that, you know? You're always battling injuries and who's in and out of the lineup, right? Because you base a game plan off of who you think you're going to have, and all of a sudden you don't have them and you got to make adjustments. I think at the end of the day, you want to be able to run the football. You know, the pass game should be an extension of the run game in regards to just kind of the timing and the rhythm. And then you take your shots when you have the opportunity. I think Derek Carr's a great deep ball thrower. I think we got deep ball threats, right, with Shaheed and Olave. We got plenty of possession guys too. So, look, there's no reason why we shouldn't be a top 5, top 10 offense. I love Pete Carmichael. Some of my best years were with Pete calling plays, you know, in 11 and 12. That's, I think all the pieces are in place. I do.
Yeah, well, not much I could say there. I didn't pause during the answer because there was really nothing for me to react to.
Offense for 2 decades. Do you think it's still viable, or has it become antiquated in today's modern? What's that?
Question was, do you think the offense is viable, or do you think it's antiquated? Word of the day. I think this is an unfair. I think this is a really. I don't want to say dumb, but I think it's a really dumb way of looking at it. You know, like Bill Walsh built the West Coast system. Is the West Coast system antiquated? No. Is Bill Walsh's playbook antiquated? Yeah, probably. But you have to take a foundation and a system and build on it. You build on it, you evolve, you innovate. It's still the same system. Like Sean Payton's system, the Saints system that worked with Drew Brees, it's not antiquated. The problem was we didn't evolve, we didn't innovate. The problem was Pete Carmichael took what Sean did and what Drew did, and he just tried to do the exact same thing and replicate the results. He wasn't innovating or evolving to the players he had, to the game state of individual games, to our opponent, to what was going on around him. He just basically said, like, this is kind of how Sean did it, so this is kind of how I'm going to do it. But he didn't have enough. He just didn't have enough to truly own the system. If Sean Payton was still the coach, I mean, Denver's a good example. Sean Payton is a good offensive coach. He knows what he's doing. I mean, you can see how Denver was playing at times this year. They started off slow. He had Denver rolling. Sean Payton's system's going to work. Sean Payton is a genius offensive coach. But he will keep innovating and evolving his own system. The stuff that Sean Payton was running in 2012 with Drew Brees, that's not what he's running now. It is his system, but it's never stagnant. And I mean, so no, it's not antiquated.
The Saints' offensive system that Pete and Sean ran and implemented here.
No, there's nothing antiquated about it.
Yeah,
you continue to evolve. You know, I look at, I mean, there were evolutions that took place while we were here. You know, in 2017, 2018, that's when Sean McVay went to the Rams. And all of a sudden, they started doing a lot of this, what we call turbo motion, right? This fast motion, and the way that you know, created problems for defenses with their adjustments and would catch them out of position. And then you felt like defenses were like, okay, well, we'll combat that with this, right? And then you've seen that to continue to evolve offensively with guys.
I mean, really, I mean, guys, I mean, look, like, you got Hall of Famer, top 5 quarterback to ever live, and I'm light years ahead. You know, I mean, again, what we're doing on this channel, no one else can do. Bottom line, it's just a fact. No notes, no nothing around me, nothing. Just ripping it off. Me and the greatest quarterback in franchise history, me and Drew Brees, just lockstep and thinking about the game, just dissecting offense. You know, just talking about just a couple old buds, talking about, you know, celebrating sliders, celebrating miniature burgers, and talking about offense. You know, one guy set every passing record there was, played the game for 20 plus years, Hall of Famer, first ballot, Super Bowl winner, all that stuff, revitalized the city, revitalized the franchise, and the other guy is the face of New Orleans sports media. You know, we're both lined up, same thinking. Unbelievable.
With teams like San Francisco, with teams like Miami, right? Which are all kind of that same, I guess, you know, family, offensive family. And look, I remember sitting there with Sean saying, man, they're doing some good stuff. We need to steal that, right? I mean, look, it's a copycat league, right? Somebody's doing something well and it's working, and you feel like you got the personnel for it. Hey, we're going to steal those ideas, right? So, shoot, we've stolen plenty of ideas in our day, and then we try to make it better. You know, we try to add something on it that is maybe more specific to our offense.
I feel like foundationally, that offense is very similar to what McVay and Shanahan runs.
Yeah.
So foundationally, is that offense similar to what McVay and Shanahan run? McVay, I think McVay's offense is really simple, honestly. I think I mean, you know what he wants to do. He wants to run the football. He wants to have play action. He wants to have, like, kind of a column read pattern with his receivers. A lot of the times it's just like a 1-2 read, just down the field, short to intermediate passes, high efficient passes. McVay is not a trickster. You know, he's not trying to trick you to death. He knows how to get his guys open. He gets the ball to his playmakers. He lets his playmakers work. He's not asking Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua to go bombing downfield. You know, he knows how to use motion and play action to get them open, and then he trusts his quarterback to read the play, make an efficient throw, and get the ball to his playmakers. Like, McVay, for how much of an offensive genius he is, and he is, I mean, he might be my favorite coach of all time. Him and Kyle Shanahan are way up there. McVay, he is pretty linear with what he's doing. You know, Mike McDaniel, he's much more of a trickster. He's much more of a, you know, he's using a ton of motion, a ton of quick motion, a ton of deception, especially in the running game. You know, he's trying to trick you into making a mistake so that he can take advantage of that. Even though those three are kind of from the same idea tree, I would say I think Kyle and Sean are pretty similar, but Mike is kind of different. But I think McVay is relatively simple. I think Sean, if you want to compare the Saints offense, Sean was really good at doing kind of what McDaniels does running. Sean was good at doing that passing. Sean was good at creating a lot of deception with his passing routes to get receivers open. Obviously, having Drew Brees being as efficient and as smart as Drew Brees and as accurate as Drew Brees was, really helped with that. But I remember seeing Sean some of his plays where he would this is a play the Saints used to run all the time. He would fake. It was like he would fake a fullback dive, I believe, and that would go into a fake to a tight end screen, and then he'd have someone else doing like a post route in the middle of the field. And he used to run that play all the time. And so he's using like 2 levels of deception to open up the passing game, which usually you don't see a lot of. Usually you see it the other way. So Sean was kind of innovative with what he was doing aerial. He was the one that really kind of opened up things, passing the ball and moving the ball downfield through the air game. And it was just a perfect storm having Brees to be the one to do it. Brees is so accurate and so efficient, so smart. He was always going to be able to make the right decision and make the throw.
Well, you talking about what?
What Sean? I mean, it's kind of the Gruden, Holmgren tree, right?
Yeah, I mean, without getting too far into the history, obviously there was the Bill Walsh West Coast offense, and then the tree of coaches that came out from under Bill Walsh and went and got head coaching jobs elsewhere, right? It was the Holmgrens, and then it became the Mariucci.
Yeah, I mean, you have the tree thing. The tree is real close to jumping the shark, I have a feeling, because people are throwing tree out there a lot, and they think there's like 4 trees in the forest, and that's it. You've got, Dick Vermeil has a tree, but really that's the Holmgren tree, and then you can date that back to Walsh, and then, it's all like the same thing, and it's kind of like what me and Drew were talking about, where the Bill Walsh tree, or the Bill Walsh system, or whatever, is different than the third coach that gets it. Mike Shanahan's tree is different than the Kyle Shanahan version. Mike McDaniel's version of the Kyle Shanahan offense is different. So the tree thing, it's like it gives you a foundation of what they're trying to do. But as time goes on, as coaches kind of put their fingerprints on a system, it's going to obviously change.
And the Grudens, and the Andy Reeds and all these guys, right? So they took variations of that offense and made it their own, right? And then Sean obviously spun out of the Gruden offensive system, and we began to evolve and kind of do certain things a certain way. Then there was Shanahan and McVay and McDaniels, and all of a sudden it became kind of this. Everybody had some of the same concepts, but it was like, how are we getting to those concepts? Well, let's start adding these shifts and fast motions. And Shanahan's always done such a great job with the run game, right? And then Mike McDaniel has taken that to Miami. McVay's doing it with the Rams. These are all elements that if you have the personnel for it and you've got a quarterback that can manage all the moving parts, man, it's a really problematic offense for a defense to handle.
Yeah.
I've got just a quick Nolan Oaklaw question. Sorry to bring that up. Have you ever gotten over that, first of all? Did you maybe expect that the NFL might have done more, or how do you feel what they've done since then to address it?
Bananas question. Absolute psycho. Brother, we're here to celebrate burgers. We're here to celebrate sliders. Like, we're double patty, cheese, pickles. Like, we're not here to talk about the no call. I mean, look at poor Drew's face. Look at poor Drew's. I mean, this is just sad to look at. I mean, he looks like someone just ran over his dog. So this guy in the middle, you got to remember too, they're in the middle of a Target parking lot. In the middle of a Target parking lot trying to celebrate some miniature burgers. And this guy, we're chopping it up. We're talking offense. We're talking play action. We're talking McVay. We're having a good time. I'm having a good time. This guy in the crowd asks, hey, what about that no call? Hey, remember that no call that happened? Remember that? What do you think about that? However many years later. Jesus.
Officiating.
I mean, there's so many judgment calls in the game. I mean, holding, for example, or pass interference. In theory, you could probably call it on every play, right? Both offensively and defensively. So it's just a matter of what you can get away with. It's a matter of, we would do officials reports every week, and there were certain officiating crews that were more apt to call certain penalties, and so we would just recognize that going in. Hey, this officiating crew is number 1 in the league in offensive holdings. So offensive line, just be conscious of that. Or they've called more pass interferences than any other officiating crew in the league. DBs, be aware of that, right? They're going to call it close to the vest. So you were just aware of those things. I mean, look, it's a shame what happened in 2018 because we were on our way to the Super Bowl, and that was a pretty obvious call. But unfortunately, that's the way it goes. Sometimes they get called, and sometimes they don't.
I've been using the headlines 3 times this season, so like the Super Bowl week, we're kind of reviewing, where they've come since.
You can't review.
Yeah, I mean, I was about to say this. So this guy said it's kind of in the news because of the Super Bowl and like the rules committee and all that stuff. This is one of those things where you can't review every single play. You can't review every play. You can't review every penalty. Do you wish? I also think this is a bit of a paradox too. Like the question is, do you wish every penalty was called when it should be called? You think yes, but I guarantee you, if you saw 70% more holding calls or 40% more pass interference calls, like sometimes you do want a little bit of human error there. Obviously, you don't want human error in the biggest possible moment that determines who goes to the Super Bowl, especially when the call is as obvious as the no call was. You obviously don't want that. Obviously, it's a mistake. Referees should be held accountable for those mistakes, but I am not on the side of reviewing every penalty or robot officials or any of that stuff. I think, I mean, it just, you do want some element. I'm not saying you want calls to be messed up, but you don't want there to be nonstop reviews, nonstop penalties, holding on every play, hands to the face on every play, or even some defense, even some pass interference here and there. You don't want on every play. So it is the ultimate kind of catch-22. The no call obviously shouldn't have happened, like no doubt about it. But I say this all the time, but that didn't end the game. Drew Brees, we got the ball first in overtime. Brees throwing the interception and all of that, like that was a big part of it too. Obviously, you could say that the no call made it where all that should have never happened, sure. But to this day, I was in the building. I was in the Superdome. I have a video on the channel talking about it. I was in the building. I was there. It was absolutely heartbreaking, absolutely brutal. It was one of the worst days of my life. I remember for like 48 hours afterwards. I remember I lived in Biloxi, Mississippi at the time. 2 days after, me and 3 of my cousins went to eat. We went and ate lunch. And I remember all of us sat there and we just were silent, depressed, sad. And all of us were basically agreed, like, yeah, we're still feeling it. It was brutal. It was absolutely gut-wrenching. But to this day, I'm more upset about what happened after the no call than the no call. I'm way more upset about the interception and all of that. So, it was definitely a tough time.
Review everything, right? You can't review everything. I think the one thing they should start reviewing is roughing the passer, because those penalties seem to really make big impacts. Like the 15-yard penalty, all of a sudden it's an automatic first down. Those seem to really influence a lot of games, and that's something very easily I think you could look at and say, hey, there was intent there, or that was flagrant.
See, I don't think so. I think that's a really difficult one to review, because the calls that you don't want reviewed, IMO, are the ones that are subjective. Like targeting is perfect to be reviewed because targeting has obvious criteria. Targeting has, you have to leave your feet, you have to lead with the crown of the helmet. Like it has these like checkpoint things that upon a review, a referee can check for those things. So, he's talking about intent. Intent, is it too forceful? Is that two different officials could see the same thing and say there's no intent, there is intent, or vice versa. With something like targeting or even like face mask, face mask is something where it's an obvious criteria. So calls like pass interference, calls like roughing the passer, those are difficult for the review because you want the review to give you a definite answer. That's the whole point of it. But if the review is subjective, then it's difficult for for it to work properly. Maybe the answer is to look at the punishment. Look at should it be 15 yards? Should it be an automatic first down? Maybe if they tweak that a little bit for certain penalties, they wouldn't be as bad. But
or no, that wasn't what we thought it was. It was bang bang, and hey, we're out to protect the quarterback, so we threw the flag. But after looking at it, it really wasn't. That's probably the one that I think they should start taking a look at and reviewing. I don't know. I mean,
I have no idea what the question was right there. Let's see.
The one that I think they should start taking a look at and reviewing.
Full-time, it's a good idea.
No idea.
I don't know.
No
I mean, until you start having robots out there and it's not perfect. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we're all humans, right? You make mistakes. Everything happens very fast. It's a very, very fast game. You guys have been on the field. It's a fast game. You're going to miss stuff. So you try to make the review process needs to be efficient too. Nobody wants to sit around and wait 2 minutes for every review.
For sure.
It's got to be something that can happen very, very fast in the booth, and they can just buzz down and say, hey, we got it wrong, or we need to take a closer look at it, or let's just get it fixed quickly. I think they're always working to make it more efficient.
How big of a hire does DA have with the offensive coordinator? How big of a hire?
No, it's huge.
So the question is how much, man, these questions, like the audio is wild, but I think the question was how much influence does Dennis have with the offensive coordinator and the hire? So let's see what Brees says and see if I'm right on what the question even was.
Huge. You want to have a system that fits your quarterback. I mean, look, if you're building this thing around Derek Carr, he has to have input. He has to.
Oh, maybe it was Derek, not Dennis. Okay, how much does Derek have influence on the OC?
Or at least you're choosing an offensive coordinator or an offensive system based on his strengths and what he does really well, and then you're building that team around him in that way. Just like defensively, you're going to take a look at what you have, and then you're going to build a defensive structure based off your personnel.
Drew, what are your thoughts on Ronald Curry? He's a candidate I think you know best.
Yeah.
Or do you know any of the other candidates?
Question is, what do you think about Ronald Curry? He's a candidate. We know now he's not a candidate. Well, he was, but he's not going to get it. Clint Kubiak's going to get it, so, you know.
No, I don't. Yeah. I think he has progressed really, really well as a coach, you know, going from being an offensive assistant quarterback coach to, you know, having this opportunity now. So, yeah, I mean, he's a guy who obviously played the game at a really high level, college, came to the pros, you know, ended up playing receiver in the pros, but man, knows the offensive game. He's been in our system and around our team and organization for a long time. So yeah, he'd be a great candidate.
Did you all had such amazing success so early here, and it was a lot of celebration for about 15 years. Did the way the pitchforks came out on Dennis and Derek and some of the boos surprise you a little bit, or is it just kind of part of the NFL?
It's easy to say from my point of view, but I think they're one and the same. Like, think about it like this. When you have fans, think about it like a circle, okay? So this is like neutral, and then this is like the more positive. So the most positive it can be. Now look the other way. The other way would be this is neutral. This is the most like negative or most angry. The extreme negative and extreme positive are really close to each other. They're very similar. So the Saints fans and the Saints fanhood, the Who Dat Nation, all that stuff is so great because they're so passionate. This is a city that bleeds with this team. This is a city that lives with this team. It is part of the culture. It's part of the lifeblood. I live here. I can tell you when you go into a bar, a Saints bar or whatever, there's Saints memorabilia everywhere. The games are on. There's posters. There's old footballs, old jerseys, old helmets. Like, it's part of the fabric of the city. You know, when the Saints win, everyone's happy. When the Saints lose, people are down. It's the talk of the town. That is part and parcel when you're losing. You can't have that fever pitch fan base that cares so much when you're winning and not expect them to do the same when you're losing. So to me, the boos and the jeering and the extreme negativity is just the same thing as the extreme positive, but it's just the opposite, right? Like, it's just the same exact passion, same exact fans, same exact care and all that stuff. It's just the flip side of we're seeing the negative side. We're seeing how much the Saints fans care, but this time, instead of it being 15 years of positivity, we're seeing some negativity. But that is what you want in a franchise. You don't want the wine and cheese crowd who just go to the games, but they don't really care about what's going on, or they you don't want what like the Chargers have. You don't want that. You want fans who bleed and breathe with this team. But if you want that and you get that and we have that, you also have to handle these times. And let me say this too. All the people who were saying we shouldn't have booed, we shouldn't have done this, we shouldn't have done that, that was the only way for the Saints fans to get their point across. And look what happened. It worked. Pete Carmichael got canned. We got a new, young, innovative coach from the tree that we want. After we were booing in the Lions game, Derek Carr got better. The team got better. The team played better. The fans booing was a positive. It was the start of a positive run of events. So you can't expect fans to be passionate, but then to also sit there and not voice their concern for the team that they're that passionate about. I think Saints fans handled this season perfectly. I am proud to be a Saints fan. I'm proud to be part of the people who were voicing their concern and voicing their displeasure with some of the things. And I'm happy to see the team moving in the direction we want it to move in, for sure. I would have been disgusted if throughout all those times in the middle of the season, Saints fans just sat there and acted like nothing wrong was going on, because that's insane. So I think it was perfectly reasonable. Drew shouldn't be surprised by it, and no one should be surprised by it.
No, I mean, look, I would take that as a compliment. It just means we have high expectations around here, which there's nothing wrong with that. I would almost spin that around and look at that as, you know what, we've got a fan base who deserves a winner, who loves our team, and it will always be there to support our team. But man, they've got high expectations now just based on what we've been able to accomplish around here. And
Are me and Drew Brees best friends? This is unbelievable. I mean, this is crazy. I'm gonna have to go get a slider. I'm gonna have to go get a shirt. I'm gonna have to go support my guy. I didn't realize me and him were basically the same human being. I didn't realize me and him were just, twins. We're saying the same thing, thinking the same. I mean, I feel bad that I even reacted to this video. I could have just let the video play, and it would have basically been the same thing, because we're saying the same thing.
There's nothing wrong with that. I think we just have to embrace that.
Mickey compared the other day the period y'all went through when you led the 3, 7, and 9 seasons. You came out the other side. Yeah. You stuck with kind of the plan.
Yeah.
I mean, can you see that, or maybe give hope to Saints fans that it can happen and turn around?
So there's talking about the 7 and 9 seasons and how if you just get through that, you can turn it around. Obviously, I mean, all it takes is one good draft class, one good signing here, one good signing there, and you're back. With the Saints, it was the influx of the young talent. I remember another game I'll never forget. We were playing the Patriots. We got absolutely dog walked at home by the Patriots. Adrian Peterson, I think, was our starting running back. When that game ended, I was saying, we got to blow this up. We got to blow this up. This is not going to work. We can't have Adrian Peterson as our starting running back. We need some talent. We need some better players. We need someone go look at that roster. Someone go pull up that roster and let me know who were some of the scrubs that we were rolling out there. Immediately, we injected Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram, Michael Thomas, Marshawn Lattimore, and they just changed the whole dynamic of the team. Everything changed. The defense got better. The offense got better. The swagger got lifted. The team just seemed totally different, and that started a whole new stretch of success. And that started some of the best seasons. Granted, it led to the no call and some of those awful moments, against the Vikings, but it took that. It took those players. It took that draft class. We couldn't rely on the Pierre Thomases and the Lance Moores and the whoever. We couldn't rely on them anymore. You have to change. You have to, and that's kind of where we're at right now, where we can't just continually rely on Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, the same old players on defense, the same old offensive linemen. We have to continually inject the team with talent, with impact players. We can't keep drafting the Peyton Turners and the Marcus Davenports and say, well, we still have Alvin Kamara, we still have Chris Olave, we still have Demario Davis, we'll be fine. They need help. We need to keep filling the roster. If you don't do that, you'll never get those peaks. If we wouldn't have had the influx of Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram, Marshawn Lattimore, Michael Thomas, if we wouldn't have had that influx, we would have never had the peaks. We would have never bounced out of that and turned everything around. So you do have to get through it, but the only way you get through it is by evolving, innovating, bringing players in, bringing more talent in, getting younger at positions. So the Saints have to do that now. We cannot just sit here and say, well, we got A.T. Perry, well, we're fine. No, we have to keep bringing talent in. We can't just say, all right, let's just roll out the same players and hope for a different result. We can't just roll out the same Olave, Rashid, A.T. Perry, Foster Moreau, Juwan Johnson, just roll them on out there. I'm not saying this will happen, but it could be something as simple as we draft Keon Coleman. All of a sudden, Keon Coleman has the same impact for the Saints that Jamar Chase had with the Bengals. All of a sudden, now we've got a top 10 receiver to pair with Olave. And we're just like dynamite down the field, just lighting it up. Or we get Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers turns into the next Travis Kelce or Robert Gronkowski. And all of a sudden, we've got the best tight end in the NFL. It takes one or two impact players to get you to the next level and to get you over whatever hurdle you're in now. If we draft a pass rusher, Jared Verse or somebody, he comes in, he has 14 sacks or something. All of a sudden, boom, the Saints go from 0 pass rush, 0 defensive identity to, man, they're a ferocious, ferocious front. They're getting after the quarterbacks. Totally different identity on defense. It takes those impact players to come in and get you over these hurdles.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, our teams the last 3 years have been good enough to go to the playoffs. They should have gone to the playoffs.
Yeah, agreed.
It was literally one game each of those years. One game that kept us from being the division champions. One game. So we have to win the games we're supposed to win a few of the ones that we're not supposed to win, or the 50-50 ones. And then all of a sudden you're a 10, 11, 12 win team. And you're winning the division and you're putting yourself in a great position for home field advantage. But look, those are the expectations around here. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think we should absolutely embrace that.
Yeah, agreed.
Hold on. I got one more. Yeah.
The culture of the locker room and the organization, getting back to, you said some of the things that got them to be in those playoff teams like you talked about. Can you kind of elaborate on what was good culture when you played and what that's about?
Questions about the culture. What is good culture?
The best form of culture is guys that care about each other. Guys that care about each other, I think, just beyond what you're trying to accomplish on the field. Some of my greatest memories as a player were the times that I was able to spend with the O-line at the O-line dinners, right?
I think culture can be summed up into players who care about each other, love each other, all that, and then players who trust the organization, who trust the coaches, trust the people in those positions to make the right decisions and to move the team forward. If the players have trust for the front office and the coaches, and they have love for their teammates, that creates a good culture.
Or going out to eat on road trips, or hanging out on the plane after big wins, going to support guys at their charity events, getting the families together, doing Bible studies together. Like those were some of my greatest memories, and that's where you built strong foundations and strong relationships that carried over to the field. Because at the end of the day, there's plenty of days you wake up and you say, man, my body's hurting. I don't know if I'm going to make it this week. And then you start thinking about the guys in the locker room, and you don't want to let anybody down, and you love them, and you want to win for them. And that's what it's all about. That's the best kind of culture.
Yeah, same like at work. At your work, I'm sure you want to love and care about your coworkers. You want them to be friends and all that, on a friendly, fun kind of vibe. But you also want to believe in the vision of your boss, or the vision of the leadership team at your work. It's the same thing. Again, like, they're playing a game, but it's their job. So a lot of what a good culture would be at your work is going to be what a good culture is in the locker room. This was a good video. I really enjoyed this. I thought we were going to have to talk a lot about old news or whatever, but this was fantastic. This was really, 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 really good stuff. Great content from New Orleans football to put this out there. Thank you to everyone who sent it to me. Thank you to everyone who sent this, whether it was on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever. And all those links will be below. Make sure you're following. Easiest way to reach out, if there's a video you want me to react to, or a question or anything like that, I do check the comment section, but it's obviously there's a lot more of comments and all that. So if you want a direct line, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, go down there. Make sure you're following the channels. Thank you for watching. Really appreciate it. Hope you have a good one. Thank you very much for the support. As always, I will see you in the next video.